High frame rate this. Jen.
All right, ready? Are you listening?
Hi, I'm LJ.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Wong.
And welcome to another taste test.
What are we eating today?
So today, Jen, I thought we should taste the new Canon R5C.
One of the most delicious cameras I've ever seen.
It's a new flavor on the block. Jen, for the longest time, I've wanted to get a new camera to complement the Blackmagic 6K that I've been shooting on for a couple years now. And that's what we're shooting this video on.
Hello?
Hello, Blackmagic 6K, currently on my tripod. The one thing that annoys me about the Blackmagic 6K is it's a beautiful camera. It has beautiful cinematic images.
Yep.
We've basically shot a whole series on it.
Yes, Chopsticks or Fork. Please watch it on iView.
But it's a bit cumbersome.
Okay.
Because it has all these weaknesses that you have to counter, you know, with the rig and with external batteries and monitors.
It takes you a bit of time to build it when we get on
Exactly,
location, doesn't
right?
it? Yeah.
And also it can get very heavy.
Okay. Does it mind us talking down to it while it's filming
No, but
us?
it's beautiful. I love it. I love you, Blackmagic 6K. I will always treasure the times that we have had. But it doesn't really take photos.
Right.
And so previously I've had a Canon 5D Mark III, which is the camera that I usually take photos with, but it only has 1080p video. And that camera is quite old. It's over a decade old. And I wanted to find a smaller camera that I can take photos on, and I can also take really high quality videos on that can also serve as a B cam to my Blackmagic 6K, because you'll always be my A cam.
Oh, doesn't every camera want to hear that?
Yeah. So here it is, the Canon R5C.
May I hold it?
Yeah, you can hold it.
Thank you.
You can hold it.
Oh, it's very light.
Isn't
For
it?
something
Isn't
that
it
looks
nice?
very substantial.
Yeah.
And the grip is marvellous.
This is also the most expensive camera I have ever purchased in my life.
Okay, this is a bad time to drop something. I'll give it back to you.
No. You can play with it.
So when I take photos, I use my telephone. So my question is, why am I here today?
Well, you're here because I feel like a lot of these videos just feature one, like, I call them dude bro camera guys.
Yeah.
Just talking about how awesome the camera is.
Yeah.
But I feel like I just need to tell you how awesome this camera is.
And I am willing to listen and learn.
For you to appreciate it.
Yeah.
And then for you to be excited when we use it.
I love
on
it.
shoots.
I love it. So do you want to tell me some of the things you love about this camera?
Yes, so here are 12 things I love about the Canon R5C. Number 1, its size and ergonomics. This is a surprisingly light and small camera for what it does. It weighs around, I think, 700 to 740 grams. It's really light. And so we shoot a lot of restaurant stuff together, and sometimes we're in kitchens in really tight spaces. The woks are quite deep, so, you know, often you have to do this.
Deep wok, high camera.
Deep wok, high camera. So with this, I can just do this. It's amazing to have such capability in such a small body. You know, I'm really looking forward to using it just as is. So the thing that's new with this camera is they've put a fan on it. So you see this. That's an additional fan. So the R5 doesn't have this thick butt.
I love it. So it's a fan of its own work.
It is a fan of its own.
Oh my God, it says exhaust vent.
Yes.
This is when you've been venting too much and you're exhausted.
The earlier versions, the Canon R5 and R6 had horrible overheating issues.
Right.
So people would be shooting for about 10-15 minutes in 4K and the camera will shut down.
Oh.
Because I imagine being on a shoot and just camera says no. And then you have to tell the talent or the client or everyone around you, and you have to say, I'm sorry, but the camera just needs to relax.
It had an exhaust vent.
And chill out for a bit, and then we can work again. Yeah. Imagine if we go on a shoot and we're like, you know what, I'm overheated. Like
I just need 8 minutes just to like shut down, and then I'll be back again.
Can you just power me down to 1080p and then I can work again? Like it's just too high fidelity right now. I can't work in 4K. Second thing I love about this camera is it's got a flippy outy touchscreen.
Oh my God, I'm flipping out just looking at it. That is so cool.
A lot of cameras have this, but My old DSLR didn't have a flippy out screen and I really missed it. Sometimes when I have to shoot really tall people or I have to like get a really high angle on something, it's kind of nice to be able to, you know, flip out the screen and do that.
And it's such a clear screen as well. Like I'm looking at that kind of going, I think my vision is improved just by looking through the world with that screen. It's
super clear and it's all, you know, touchy-feely. You can, you know, change all the menu settings by touching it.
I am very impressed. I think in future, if I need to look at something clearly, I might look at it through this flippy screen.
Just take it to a concert and do this. The third thing I love about this camera is its EVF. So it has an electronic viewfinder. So the old DSLRs would have a mirror in the system that used to bounce the light from the lens into the viewfinder so you could see. But all these cameras have an electronic one.
So you mean when I look into it?
So if you look into the viewfinder, it automatically detects your eye.
It detects your eye.
And it shuts off the screen.
Right eye.
And it gives you beautiful image straight into your eye.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
There you are.
There I am. Number 4, this camera has separate photo and video menus.
Okay.
What does that mean? It basically means it's got Windows and Mac on the same camera.
And it still works.
And it still works. If you flip this to photo, it's got the photo menu, so the very classic Canon photo menu.
Yeah, which looks familiar to me. But if I flip it to video...
If you flip it to video, yeah.
What happens?
So it's got a bit of a delay, like 6 to 8 seconds.
Okay.
So now you're
I don't know that interface at all.
This interface you would have probably not encountered.
Never seen it.
Yeah, because you probably don't operate cinema cameras.
Very rarely. Never. So rarely.
But you might now because this camera is so tiny.
I can hold it in my hand.
You can definitely hold it. So this menu is this Canon EOS cinema menu and it has all your cinema goodies like waveform, false colors, basically everything that you expect from a cinema camera, which is really awesome because now we have a full functionality of a Canon cinema camera in a DSLR body.
Does that mean you're going to be making movies on your holidays now?
I could. Netflix ready movies on my holidays in 8K.
8K. That's a lot of K.
That's a lot of K, right? Which brings me to number 5. This thing shoots in 8K.
Is that like good enough for IMAX?
I don't know. I feel like we have to call Christopher Nolan on that, but maybe.
What's happening with 8K? Like,
so I guess 8K...
I don't know if I can see that with my naked eye, can I?
I think most TVs don't even do 8K. I mean, no.
Right.
I would say we probably won't be able to see much of a difference.
Okay.
And I think some people have already done countless tests on the 4K versus the 8K on this camera. And the 4K is so good that you get like a marginal difference, I think. Maybe it gives you more ability to crop in. When you shoot like a wide angle, then you can crop in and still maintain almost like a 4K resolution. So it's a lot of res for a tiny camera. So it has an issue. You can shoot normal 8K in say 25 frames a second or 24 frames a second. But if you want to double that into 50 frames or 60 frames, you lose autofocus and stabilization on the lens. I'm just throwing words at you which don't make sense.
I'm nodding politely at this point.
That's fine. Look, there are limitations to this camera where you need an external power source if you want to keep autofocus and all these other things in the lens if you shoot like super high 8K. Speaking of batteries and power, these cameras have quite small batteries. That's the battery. Tiny battery, right? But the coolest thing with this camera is that you can actually plug in a USB power bank. So, Jen, if you can pass me that.
More power to you.
Thank you. More power to us. You can basically plug it into a USB power bank. It has to be like a certain wattage, like 45 watts or something. But you can power this camera for hours. And it also charges its battery. So you can put this in your pocket if you're wearing a hoodie. Front pocket? Hoodie front pocket?
Just keep your belly warm.
Just slide it in. And then you're still shooting? You're like for days just doing this. How cool is that though?
That's amazing.
Are we at a stage where you can just attach this camera to your head?
Well, at 740 grams, it's probably light enough to do that.
Can you imagine like a GoPro attachment, just like on your head like this?
Yeah,
like,
wearing a hoodie, that in your pocket.
Number 7, the autofocus. I know this is not really new on Canon cameras, but for me, coming from an older DSLR, the autofocus is amazing. So it's got eye detection, face detection, tracking, everything. But I feel like cameras like these, they will change the way that photographers shoot because the tracking is so good. You can basically keep the camera on focus tracking. And also, I feel like unless you're in a really, really bright environment, you're probably using more of the LCD to just take photos.
Is that the case as well, that it has autofocus for video?
Yes. So I love my Blackmagic 6K. It's a beautiful camera, but it doesn't really do autofocus. Like, it has one-touch autofocus. So when we're filming ourselves, doing stuff like this, there's no one behind the camera. I set everything up. And I have to just make sure that I set the focus so we're kind of in focus, within this plane. These cameras, it's got Canon's dual pixel autofocus, it's got tracking, it's got eye detect.
Right.
So it can detect somebody's eye and, if they're moving, it's like, oh yeah, I've got you.
Yeah. That's great because I've always wanted to do like videos where we're moving a lot more.
We're up to formats and codecs.
2 of my favorite things.
What do you think when you hear the term format and codec?
I think precision, like backing up of things, maybe some codes. Am I close?
Yeah, I guess so.
I gave
Codes,
3 very vague words. Yep.
Basically, this camera shoots in a lot of formats in various codecs.
Right. What is a codec?
A codec is basically, I feel like I could get this really wrong and the internet's going to be like, it's not that. How I think of a codec is it's basically like a compression algorithm for your video.
All right, that makes sense.
So light hits the sensor on a camera. That information from the sensor goes into the computer of the camera, and the computer goes, okay, I'm going to compress it into this type of format, and then spits it out onto your card.
Okay,
and
got
then
it.
you get a video on your card, right?
Yep.
And there are a lot of different codecs. You've heard of H.264.
Oh, my favorite. Love
what
it.
about H.265? How do you think about
Not so much a fan, no.
Yeah, you're not the only one. H.265 can be really hard to edit on some machines because it's quite compressed and it can really slow down your system because it's got its cinema menu. It can shoot in XAVC, which is like a nicer codec to shoot in. Also, it shoots cinema raw for 8K and stuff, but we don't need to touch.
That's a conversation with Christopher Nolan coming up next week, right on this channel.
Except the thing with Christopher Nolan is he's really into film, so he wouldn't care about any of this stuff.
All right, backtrack.
They'd just be like, I'm shooting on 35 mil
Yeah.
or 70 mil for IMAX, and like, who cares about H.265 and XAVC? Anyway, look, this camera has a lot of codecs and a lot of formats, and it's got everything you basically need for you to shoot on.
So editors will be happy to receive your footage.
I think editors will be very happy to receive footage from this. How are you going with the nerdy stuff?
I'm good.
Are you learning things?
I'm learning things. I have a range of codecs to choose from if I should want to shoot video on this camera.
Perfect. And what's with no? We'll do a test later on. This camera also shoots really fast, if that makes sense.
Now you're talking my language.
Yeah. It shoots in a really high continuous frame rate in its photo mode. Okay. High frame rate this. Jen.
All right, ready? Are you listening?
So it's got mechanical shutter, electronic shutter, all that doodaddy cool stuff. But it's very fast, which is very nice. And I like it very much.
That's good.
Number 10, it shoots in C-Log 3.
My favorite log.
So Jen, when I say C-Log 3, what do you think it is?
It's a thing that records things related to the ocean.
Close.
Really?
No. Log is basically just a flat profile that tries to take as much information as it can from life from your
Right.
scene into the sensor. So you might have seen it like when people shoot footage and it looks really grayed out and washed out. So they're probably shooting in a log profile.
Okay.
Yeah. Log basically tries to capture like the lowest shadows in a scene to the highest highlights.
Wow. It's like in life where you have like the lowest lows and the highest highs.
That's so beautiful, Jen. It's so poignant.
Yes, it's poetry.
That's log. You can basically map any button on this camera to any menu item. So you can customize this camera as much as you like.
Wow. Bespoke.
Number 12, a fine dozen of things I love about this camera is that it just keeps on shooting. It doesn't overheat. It keeps on shooting until you fill up your card or until the battery dies or until your USB power bank dies. It just goes and goes and goes.
I do think though that when we are shooting, you should still take breaks.
Yeah, so if you, have the camera strapped here and you've got the power bank in your hoodie pocket, you should still take a tea break.
Take a tea break. Always take the tea break. So those are the 12 things that you love. Are there any things perhaps that you don't love about this little chap?
I love it you called it a little chap. Canon little chap. That's a new name for
The Little
it.
Chap 2022.
It's such a cute name, yet so capable of so many things.
Yes, at 740 grams, it is quite the little chap.
So the biggest issue with this camera, which a lot of people have talked about, is its battery life. It doesn't have really big batteries. It's got like kind of tiny, they're called LPE6NH.
Correct. That's right.
Was that right?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Roughly, I get about 50 minutes from
Okay.
each battery, which isn't amazing, but it's not like the worst either. For example, my most adored Blackmagic 6K, it also uses LPE6 batteries, like the old versions, and I think it runs like 25 minutes on one. Hence why I have like an external battery for it, but I still love you, Blackmagic 6K. 'Cause these new batteries, they're not cheap. Guess how much this costs?
$200?
Quite close. They're about $170.
Okay.
But that's a lot of money for a battery that lasts about 50 minutes. So if you're going on a full day shoot, you might be packing, like 4 to 6 of these batteries. That's a lot of money. There's a lot of things I love about this camera. I don't have too many hang-ups about it. I think in terms of usability, it would be nice if you could take videos in photo mode and shoot photos in video mode. So at the moment, in each menu, you can only do one thing. You can't cross. It's like jumping multiverses.
It's verse jumping,
Yeah,
guys.
you need Michelle Yeoh to do it. I think the greatest thing about DSLR or mirrorless usability is the fact that you can shoot, video and then pop off a couple photos and then shoot video again. In a professional setting, I don't think it's going to matter, because in a professional setting, you're either going to be shooting photos or video, and if you're doing both, you would have the 8 seconds to switch between the two.
So are you concerned about this from a holiday perspective?
Yeah, I think so, because, in a way, I purchased a camera this small, so I could take it on holidays, and it would give me really high quality video and really great photos as well. And I feel like maybe 8 seconds, like a lot can happen in 8 seconds.
I think you just have to time your 8-second flick over from photo to film. And I believe you can do that.
Okay, thanks, Jen.
Yeah.
Thanks for
I
believing
believe in
me.
you. I believe
Thank
in you. And I believe in the little chap.
I guess, Jen, time to ask you a question. What do you think about this camera, and how do you feel? And, what have you learnt today?
Well, as someone who cares about your well-being, I think that it's great that the codec options are there so that you can edit easily. I love the idea that you're happy with the C-Log 3. And, sorry, I can't keep up with this. That's all the acronyms I've learned.
Thank you, Jen.
Oh, are we shaking hands now?
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that felt weird. I was gesticulating and we shook hands.
I took your hand. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I took your hand.
But thank you very much for coming on this journey. I can't wait to do more walk and talk videos.
Thank you for teaching me so much about
camera.
this little guy. I'm excited for what we make in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want... Oh, the light's gone again. It's more contrasty and cinematic now. I'd like to thank my friend Dave for introducing me to this camera. Tri-Guy, I hope that I pronounced it correctly, at Canon Australia, and also Neil at Sun Studios in Sydney. whom I'm sure loved every email I sent him over the few months going, do you have the Canon R5C yet? Do you have it yet, Neil? I need it now. But yeah, really, really excited to use this camera. If you like this channel and want to watch more from Wong Kong, don't forget to like
and subscribe.